Welcome to From Moment to Movement. I'm Tamara Banks, your host. The U.S. is at a critical point in its history. Millions of Americans are rallying, demonstrating, protesting, and yes, some are even rioting to make their voices heard, especially Black Americans. Racism is steeped into the very core of this country, and now in 2020, Black voices are tired of being ignored, muffled, and killed. We're experiencing an important moment. African Americans need this moment to march, protest, cry, pray, to be heard, and to evoke positive change. From Moment to Movement hopes to provide a platform for Black voices. A movement has to arise from the ashes of the moment. So From Moment to Movement is a series of one-on-one conversations with members of our Black community aimed at giving a platform to hear their experiences and work towards changing our systems. Our guest today is Rebekah Henderson. Rebekah is a filmmaker. She's working on a film called Running with My Girls, which is going to be awesome. And Rebekah, you're also the host of a podcast. Tell us about that podcast and that name.
So my podcast, thanks for having me, Tamara, sorry. My podcast is called Off Color, and that particular production came from working with a friend, our dearly departed friend, Dr. Gregory Diggs. He was my original co-host for the first 10 episodes. We wanted a place where we could talk about race and identity in a very real and sort of unfiltered way. My goal with it was to have conversations that, in part, to kind of spare your Black friend your questions. I'm like, I'll answer those questions. And so it just sort of started out filming in my basement. We took on a couple of iterations. We got picked up by a startup media company. Then the startup media company went under. So it's a small thing, but it was something that I felt that the world needed at the time. Was that I just got exhausted, like listening, saying the same things over and over again, is what I think I'm trying to say.
Right. And so that's a really good point. We're in a space right now where some would say, well, we've seen this movie before with protests and demonstrations, rallies, vigils, riots, and then we have another unarmed Black person killed at the hands of police officers. Then we do rallies, demonstrations, riots, rinse and repeat. But it kind of feels like this is a little bit different. How are you feeling in this moment in time?
So, I want to believe so badly that we're going to start seeing the changes that need to happen in order for America to be great. I don't think it's possible. Sorry. So one of the reasons I say that is because I'm what's called a loving generation baby. So my father's Black, my mother was white, and we were kind of born at a time, of great upheaval in the nation, and there was a lot of feelings that, these mixed race babies are going to save the world. That's love. And we're all going to just do it until everyone's a shade of beige or a tan, and that's how we're going to make America. That's how we're going to get rid of racism. But you can't get rid of racism because I think that people don't actually understand the insidious nature of it. I don't think people really comprehend that the Constitution of the United States of America is a white supremacist document written by white supremacists. And I think that saying that makes me, whoa, but like all you have to do is look at the facts, like what's mentioned in there. Black people are 3/5 a person. There's no women. Native Americans are savages, right? So it's like we have this core at our in the country, like that. I just think people just don't truly understand. So that's what's happening, and I'm seeing it, and I feel like we're going to lose a lot of time actually on this idea that, racism's real. Like, okay, I got it now. Oh yeah, Black Lives Matter. They do, yeah. Like, and then that's it. That's going to be the change. And I want to see policies implemented, right? And so even with that, like we had a historic vote last night for the Denver public schools where they removed they canceled their contract with Denver Police Department, having to have like SRO security officers in the schools. Mm-hmm. And people are furious. People are furious, and they can't.
What are they furious about? What makes them angry?
About police being taken out of the schools. They have been, just sending all this targeted, racialized, racial slurs and epithets at our Black school board members. And it's what the wild part of it to me is, even though it's exciting and it sounds radical, these are the facts. There was 18 police officers in the Denver public schools. At what schools? I don't have to tell you because you already know what schools they're at. Right. And so that to me is like, it's not even that many people. It's not that wild of an idea. There is security in the schools. They'll still call the police the same way they would if they needed to call the police for, a school shooting or whatever. And so, but to me, it's just wild that people are like, no, this is so crazy. It's like they shouldn't have been in the schools in the first place.
And the reason for the police officers in the schools, in Denver public schools and other schools, is I think maybe the intention was to give a sense of safety, but was it also, or intended to send a clear message about law enforcement and control?
I mean, for real, Tamara, is obviously it's me, but that's what I'm saying. So for me, part of being Black is that I know all of this information. I've been screaming about it, right? And it feels like, oh, finally people are catching on. But the police do not inspire a sense of feeling of protection for me personally, okay? And I've had somewhat positive interactions with the police in general, right? Like one time the alarm went off in my house, police officer came to check it out. And I will tell you though, totally nice dude, everything was fine. But when I had to go out to the car to like tell him something, I approached his vehicle and I was like, it's me, I'm a lady from the house, don't shoot. Like that really happened, And I wasn't kidding because I felt like, okay, I have to like be careful because I don't want to like surprise this police officer in his car because what might happen, right? And nothing was going to happen to me, But right. It's still the thought of it. And so seeing police, I grew up in a suburban school. We didn't have police officers.
Really?
No.
So you say that nothing's changed. What I find different about this particular moment in time is that in the news cycle is a good gauge of how long something is on top of mind for people, whether that's accurate or not. In any given community, I would say certain things are more important than, other communities. But that neither here nor there. In every major network, we're still leading, or at least the second story, with George Floyd's killing, with Breonna Taylor's killing, with Ahmaud Arbery's killing, and other people who have been killed in the past, unarmed Black men and women, and now videos coming forward. And then the others who've since then been killed at the hands of officers. So it feels like it's still out there on top of people's minds versus the news cycle is typically 1, 2, maybe 3 days. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, to me, it feels a little bit different.
I know people just wanted a break from COVID-19. P.S. We're still in the middle of a pandemic that is disproportionately killing Black and brown people and poor people, right? That's still happening. So I think that even that is like, again, this is just my feelings, right? This is my perspective. Like, to me, it's like, it's too little too late. And then with Breonna Taylor, like, they made a law, Breonna's law, but they still haven't charged the police officers in her murder. Like, so it's like the small things that people aren't paying attention to that are still happening, that are showing me that maybe we're not changing in the way that we think we're changing, or shifting people's perspectives in the way that we think we are. Like, I think about the woman, Amy Cooper, who tried to have the police come to kill, you know, the other Cooper. Sorry, I forgot.
Christian. Yeah. Christian Cooper.
They had the same last name. It was wild.
Right.
But like, she got her dog back, you know, they just like gave her dog back.
Right.
And I don't want to like punish a dog by taking a dog out of a home, but still, like, what are our priorities, you know? And so to me, those kinds of things that are happening are just making me feel like, no, we're not. These changes are superficial. And when we look at all of the corporations covering it, because we're watching it, right? When we look at big brands sending out how many emails did you get from one of your subscription companies telling you, Black Lives Matter, we support the movement, blah, 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 blah. They want us to keep spending our money. Black money is powerful in this country. And so that's part of it too, is it's like, something about it is not resonating with me. And I don't know if I've just been burned too many times by like institutional racism. I don't know if it's because I've had, not personally, not on my exact person, but on members of my family, police violence, including death. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm like, I don't want to get all emotional, you know, because I'm trying not to get too crazy up in here, so you don't air it. But like, that's the truth. Like, for me, that's the truth. Is like, I'm just not sure. And I'm watching it play out in real time in the neighborhood I live in, which is named after a Klansman. And the people still are like, I don't know if we should change the name. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to pull it together, y'all.
No, this is, you're right. This is an emotional subject. And I think some people get weary of talking about it over and over and almost being re-traumatized by it. But the reason they feel re-traumatized is because it's so emotional and so real and it's so close to the bone. That's where it hurts the most. And so I think that we have to look, kneeling at a football game was like the worst sin football players and supporters could have done. Kaepernick was fired and has yet to play football. But we had Roger Goodell come out and say, well, gosh, you know, I really apologize for things I said. Why? To your point, Rebekah, maybe people are rethinking about where they spend their money. And we may or may not have an NFL season just due to the pandemic, let alone what's happening in society. So if kneeling disrupts what you feel is right and respectful, or what's wrong and disrespectful to America, maybe if people took to the streets, which they have, that they'll be heard. And I think that's why people are, I'm not condoning rioting, but if you're not going to listen to me when I do it peacefully, how can I best get your attention? And so all of that is enveloped in this emotional ball that, by the way, you still have to go to work. You still have to walk down the street. You still have to go to the grocery store, and you can't express how you're feeling. And so when you're afforded an opportunity to, hey, how you feeling? It's natural for those emotions to well up and come out in tears or in, you know, cussing or what have you. So I want you to say what you need to say and want to say.
Well, look out, Tamara. You asked for it. Here it is. I don't want to even hear people saying riots, because that in itself is like a legalese term that is used to make sure. And you know where it came from? It comes from the Tulsa, the bombing of Black Wall Street, because they said, well, it's a riot, not a massacre, so now we don't have to pay any insurance on it. You know what I mean? Like, this is an uprising. This is a rebellion. And when people say they don't condone rioting, I don't know. I heard someone say this, and I really appreciated her words on it. And she said, I don't mind if it burns. Like, I'm not going to burn stuff, but I don't mind. And I feel like that. Like, I don't want people burning down my whole city. Obviously, on the other side of that, I'm like, what's a city if we're living in chains, if we're living under an oppressive regime? Like, what's the point? So we might as well take to these streets. However, I did not take to the streets because of the pandemic. So I keep trying to remind people that there is a pandemic. And I understand going out into the streets. And for me, that was a really, it was like a really hard moment where I had to really look at my own like liberation goals and what I want for Black people in this country. Because I wasn't willing to like risk getting coronavirus by going to one of these marches or protests. And I'm older, I'm overweight, I'm in that, I'm in that group. My husband's immune compromised. Like, I had a lot of factors into making that decision. However, it made me realize like, oh, maybe I'm not willing to like die. But and the other side of that though is I was like, yo, I'm willing to get my head cracked in by some popo, but I'm not willing to do that and get coronavirus. I was like, I can't do it. I've done enough. That's how I felt for myself. I'm so grateful for all of the people who took to the streets when we could not. I'm so grateful for the journalists who were covering it and putting themselves in harm's way, because to your point about it still being in the news cycle, like, I think to me, journalism is probably, the key. That's the key to a democracy, is like a free press, and we are watching it get suppressed. So, sorry, I'm just like, yesterday I was on my porch with a friend of mine, a Black friend, and we see this dude running by in the park, and he's carrying this giant American flag, like a huge American flag, and just running with it. White guy. What do you think the message is that he's trying to send? Why is he carrying that giant flag? Why is he running with it? Why do you think he's doing that? Do you know?
Wow. Well, I can venture to say that the message may have been something like, this is America and this is the way we do it. And if you don't like it, you can leave it. I wasn't there. I'm just guessing. But
I have video. Sorry.
Did you feel, how did that make you feel?
No, it just makes me feel really frustrated that it's like, I'm telling you, this is a real thing, and I've been telling you. And now finally you're like, all right, oh yeah, there's a problem. But the thing that infuriates me is that people needed to watch 8 minutes and 46 seconds to believe us. That's what it took. Didn't take Philando Castile. It didn't take, Eric Garner. It didn't take Michael Brown. It didn't take all of the countless names that people don't even know. Like, these are the ones that got caught, right? How many other stories are there? And like Rodney King, right? So it's like, it just feels like it's over and over again. And I think that when we're really starting to think about what's happening, it's like, the slave-owning white males that founded this country are still running this country. And the Civil War, people are like, it's a race war. It's like, we've never been out of this war. Not really. All you have to do is look at a history book, and not a whitewashed one, that says the slaves was happy cooking George Washington's food. That dude wore slave teeth in his mouth for his dentures. Like, I understand this is what happened. We can study history, right? We don't go around naming things like, Hitler Hill. Like, we don't do that. But here, that's what we're doing. The country is founded in it, it's steeped in it, and it isn't, people say it's white supremacy, it's in the water. It isn't in the water, it is the water. It's everything. And people really don't understand how it plays out. And I keep trying to explain it. And I had like a very concrete example on a Facebook group, right? And so that's part of mutual liberation and all that too. It's like you get in where you fit in, you do what you can do. I live in a neighborhood where I decided to post something on the Facebook group asking them to change the name of just the Facebook group, because it's called Stapleton Moms. And I posted in there and I was like, hey, you guys, it's me, your light bright, but still black neighbor. Like, and I'm the one that stays on your helmet about your shameful votes to keep the name Stapleton when he was in the Ku Klux Klan. And like, we told you it was bothering us. And the response on it was incredible. Honestly, it was incredible. Like it was like hundreds of comments, change the name, you know what I mean? And like, it was like a little mini like white lady riot. It was fascinating to like watch it in real time. And the admins of that group were like, we have to be thoughtful about this. And you know what I mean? Like it was like, no one could believe that was the response. I had actual people come back to me, neighbors, and say, and apologize and say, you know what? I see why you were always going off about this and many other things because I'm watching it in real time. They kicked people out of the group for supporting the name change. It was crazy. Then another lady started a whole other group with a different name. And then I posted in there and it just still was racist. And I was like, you know what? I kind of gave up in the moment. But I'm saying all of that to say that even when you don't understand. And the example I will give is I'm fundraising for my film, right? I'm crowdfunding, running with my girls. And because of the pandemic, we couldn't hold some of the events, blah, blah, blah. So I asked my neighbors, like for real, I was like, hey, you guys, why don't you contribute to this? It'll make a great headline. Like, think about it. Like, neighborhood that's named after a Klansman comes together to fund this movie about political change and electing women of color. I was like, you can do it, They told me to take my post down because there was no soliciting of funds, even though I'm the reason they started the new group, even though I started this little revolution, even though my film is absolutely pertinent to them. And I even specifically said, I'm not fundraising from my community. I've raised $30,000 for filming from poor people who gave me $10, people who gave me $20, people who believed in the movement. And I just felt like, hey, you guys keep saying you want to do something and I'm offering you something easy to do and you still can't see that. And then also, what kind of community group has no fundraising for their community, for something interesting in their community? And I tried to explain that to the admin of the group. I said, the fact that like you're telling me I can't even ask for my neighbors to contribute to this amazing like civic engagement project that like is covering all of the things that they are interested in and wanting to learn more about is strange to me. Also, in the circles I roll in, we post GoFundMes, we post things all the time because people are poor and they can't make it because there's so many holes in our system and there's so many ways that like our government is not meeting our needs, health insurance, bail funds, like all of those things, and education, college, trips, surgeries. And so I just felt like it was so frustrating to me. I'm like, you really can't even make an exception? And she was like, well, we can't be hypocrites. And that's my point. Like, to me, that is so unreasonable and so much about white supremacy, that like the ideology of white supremacy. That's also something too. People don't understand. People don't use the terminology. They don't understand it. This I'll give you, Tamara Banks, is that people were not using the words. I am astounded to hear in mainstream media now people talking about white supremacy as like an ideology and trying to explain it to people like racism isn't just about burning them crosses. Okay, even though that is obviously happening, but like it is about everything in our society revolving around this myth that white people are somehow superior and deserve more. And when we're asking for more, it feels like oppression to them. And that's the part that I can't understand why people are not understanding. Like, you have people outside on the Capitol, these like Ku Klux Klan right-wing nuts talking about they want to get a haircut, and we're like, please stop killing us. Like, insane, you know? So sometimes I don't even know what to do about it.
Right.
That's what I'm doing, right? Which is this. I'm like, oh, you gonna give me a platform? I'm gonna go off right now. I'm gonna be like, no more capitalism. But yeah, I think there's just we need to take a really, people need the work is more than a Black Lives Matter sign. Okay? That's just an acknowledgement to me. That's why I'm asking you to put a Black Lives Matter sign on your lawn. Because I'm like, just let me know, like, you're okay with that, you know? And then, but the real work, it's an unlearning. It's a re-education. White people in America have been miseducated. White people don't even exist. It's not a real thing. It's just a concept.
That's right. And you say that white people need to be educated. You're absolutely right. And I would add that we also need to educate ourselves. You know, there's even just the term race is a social construct that doesn't really, that's not a real thing. Rebekah, thank you so much for your time. I always value your insight and your energy and your commitment to exposing lies and speaking your truth and being so open and honest and real. It's truly a pleasure always speaking with you. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I really appreciate you. But I also want to say it's so important that we get a variety of voices, because something I cannot stress enough is that, you know, being Black, we're not a monolith, you know, just because you have one Black friend and then shouts out, if I'm your only Black friend, you don't, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Because my phone was blowed up with that too. You know what I mean? People asking me what should they do? So.
Right. Anyway, I understand completely. Thank you so much. Be safe out there. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We appreciate you and your time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of From Moment to Movement. You can find out more about this program and others on pbs12.org. I'm Tamara Banks. We'll see you next time.